Howdy y'all, and welcome back to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. This week, we have some new decks we're excited to show off, so let's get to those deck techs. Up first is Ethan, who brewed Saskia, the Unyielding. Ethan built this deck as an aggressive 4-color Legends deck, hoping to spread the love with Saskia to get his opponents dead quick. Next up is Tanner, playing Patrick Star. Tanner built this open-ended commander deck as a group slug deck, looking to spread the pain evenly amongst him and his opponents. Third is Caden, playing Zurgo Stormrender. This is an aggressive Mardu Aristocrats deck, hoping to attack with tokens and have them die in combat to draw cards, or die outside of combat to sacrifice synergies to drain his opponents. Last up is Sam on Sergeant John Benton. Sam is Voltroning John in a special way. Using cards with only 1 pip, he's using instants and sorceries to pump John up, refill his hand, and kill his opponents. We're about to get to the game, but before that, go ahead and give us a like, and let us know down in the comments section which deck you're rooting for. Links to our socials and our deck lists are also in the description down below. And a quick announcement, we're launching our YouTube membership program. If you're interested in supporting the channel further, check out the information down in the description below. Our channel is also partnered with Dragon Shield, so if you want to pick up any new sleeves or magic-related product, check out the affiliate link down in the description below. Use the code SMOOTH5 for 5% off your entire order. Now, on to the video.
Alright, looks like Ethan wins the die roll. He'll play his Verdant Catacombs and fetch for a Jetmir's Garden, and he'll pass while searching. Tanner will just play a Mountain and pass to Caden, and Caden will play Command Tower into Esper Sentinel. Then the turn is passed to Sam. Sam plays a Snow Plains, and then he'll cast a second Esper Sentinel. Alright, to save you guys some time, and because I'm lazy, if a non-creature spell is cast, I'm not going to announce every trigger unless it's missed or paid for. Alright, we'll move to Ethan's turn now, where he'll shock in an Overgrown Tomb, and then cast Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff. The turn is then passed to Tanner, and he'll play a Swamp into Fellwar Stone. He'll then pass the turn to Caden, who will play his Shadowy Backstreet, Surveil stays on top, and then Esper Sentinel attacks Tanner for 1, and the turn is passed. Sam will start off with Okina as land for turn, then he'll cast an Elvish Mystic, attack Caden for 1, and then pass to Ethan. Ethan starts off with a Scrubland, then he'll tap for 3 and cast Professional Facebreaker. Then he'll move to combat and hit Caden for 2 and make a treasure. The turn is then passed to Tanner, and he'll play another Swamp, then tap for 4 and cast Grim Hireling, and then he'll pass to Caden. Caden plays Spectator Seating, and then he'll tap for 3 and cast his Professional Facebreaker. Alright, treasures all around this game, I guess. He'll then pass the turn to Sam, who starts off with a Fabled Passage. Then he'll tap for 3 and cast Sergeant John Benton. The Sergeant is then swung over at Tanner, who takes the 2, so he and Sam each draw 2 cards. And then Sam will pass the turn and discard Snakeskin Veil and Cleanup. Alright, let's move to Ethan's turn now, where he'll immediately move to combat and swing Professional Facebreaker over at Tanner and Lotho over at Sam. They both take their damage, and Sam will crack his Fabled Passage for a Snow Forest. Ethan also gets 2 treasure tokens for hitting 2 opponents, then he'll cast an Arcane Signet, and then Guardian Project. Lotho trigger will lose him a life, and he'll make another treasure. And then thanks to that treasure, he's able to cast a Bard class. And then the turn is passed to Tanner. Tanner starts off with a Badlands as land for turn, then he'll tap for 5 and cast Karazakar. After this, he'll move to combat, and Grim Hireling goes over at Ethan, attack trigger. Professional Facebreaker is goaded, then Ethan will take his 3 and Tanner makes 2 treasure tokens. We'll then move to Caden's turn, where he starts off with a Scrubland. Then he'll tap for 3 and cast Zurgo. After this, he'll move to combat, and Professional Facebreaker goes over at Ethan, and Esper Sentinel goes over at Sam. Ethan can't block, so he'll take his 2, and Sam will trade Esper Sentinels with Caden, and Caden gets a treasure. The turn is then passed to Sam, and he'll start off with a Reliquary Tower as land for turn. He'll then enchant his Sergeant with Spider Umbra, and then he'll move to combat and swing for 3 over at Caden. Caden declares no blocks, and before damage, Sam will activate Okina to give John Benton +1/+1. So Caden takes 4, and they'll both draw 4. Sam will then pass the turn, and Tanner remembers a Karazakar trigger, so he and Sam each lose a life and draw a card. Then we'll move to Ethan's turn, and the first thing he does is level up Bard class. And with this, he's able to cast Saskia for only 2 mana. When she enters, he'll draw a card, and she should enter with a counter, but he forgets it. And then as she enters, he'll name Tanner. This allows him to get Karazakar triggers and kill Tanner at the same time. And on to combat Ethan goes. Professional Facebreaker and Lotho go over at Sam, and Saskia will hit Caden. There are 2 Karazakar attack triggers. Then upon connecting, Ethan will make 2 treasure tokens, and Saskia will deal 7 damage to Tanner. Post combat, Ethan will cast an Annie Joins Up. Lotho trigger. On ETB, Ethan will deal 5 damage to Grim Hireling to kill it. After this, Ethan will cast a Nature's Lore, and this will find him a Savannah to the battlefield. Then he'll pass the turn to the Tan Man. Tanner plays an Exotic Orchard, Then he'll cast Marionette Master, Fabricate trigger. He gives it 3 counters, and then he'll cast a Soul Ring. And he does use his treasure, so Marionette Master will drain Ethan for 4. Ethan also gets 2 Lotho triggers, so he'll lose 2 and make 2 treasures. Then after this, Tanner will cast Arcane Signet. Then he'll move to combat and swing Karazakar over at Caden. Attack trigger will tap and goad Zurgo. And Caden will just take the 5. And then the turn is passed to Caden. He'll start off with a Windbrisk Heights as land for turn, and he'll hide away a card. Then he'll cast an Arcane Signet, and then move to combat. Zurgo goes over at Sam, Professional Facebreaker goes over at Ethan, and the 1/1 Mobilize token also goes over at Sam. None of them will block, so they'll take their damage, and Caden gets 2 more treasures. Then, post-combat, Caden will cast Disrupt Decorum. All creatures are goaded. Ethan also has a double Lotho trigger. And then Tanner and Caden also remember their Karazakar triggers. Alright, everything goaded should be fun. Anyways, Caden will pass the turn and discard 4 lands. Alright, on to Sam's turn. He'll start off with a Bountiful Promenade. This is when Caden remembers that that token shouldn't be there and everyone should have lost a life. Then Sam will cast and equip Rope to John. And then John is enchanted with Forced Adaptation. And this will double trigger Lotho. This self-inflicted damage that Ethan has is starting to stack up. And I think Sam realizes this because when he moves to combat, he'll swing John over at Ethan. And Ethan values Saskia's life over 4 Commander. So he goes down to 11 and he and Sam will each draw 4 cards. Also, there was a Karazakar trigger. Sam will then pass the turn. Ethan will stop on Instep though and cast a Path to Exile, but he doesn't know what to target. But after a short monologue, Ethan decides to hit Zurgo because Caden is getting none of the negatives of creatures being goaded. So Zurgo is exiled, Caden will get a basic, and we'll move to Ethan's turn. First thing he does is play a command tower. Then he'll cast Lelia the Blade Reforged and Karlach, Fury of Avernus. He'll draw off Project and then forget the counters they should be getting. He does not forget his double Lotho triggers though. He'll then move to combat and everything that's goaded goes over at Sam and then Lelia will go over at Caden. Attack triggers. And thanks to Annie Joins Up, these are doubled. 2 exiles are a land and Audric, and Lelia should get 4 counters because getting those counters are separate triggered abilities, but Ethan only puts 2 on her. And then Karlach does her extra combat shenanigans. Oh yeah, and there's 2 Karazakar triggers. Alright, and it's at this point that Tanner sees he's probably dead here, but he's going to try to see if he can find a way out. He'll start off by sacrificing a treasure, and Ethan will lose 4 life to Marionette Master. With the current board, he'll be dead to Saskia damage, so he decides to Force of Despair pitching Warlock class. And this will destroy Karlach, but more importantly Lelia before any damage is dealt to Caden. So moving to damage, Sam will take 7, Saskia will double trigger and deal 14 to Tanner. Ethan will also get another treasure and then move to his second combat. He makes the exact same attacks to deal 7 to Sam and then 14 to Tanner, so unfortunately Tanner is still dead here. Ethan does get another treasure and then he just passes through his third combat. Guess he forgot that Karlach should have triggered twice. Anyways, post combat he'll cast Boromir, then Glissa Sunslayer, and then Miri, Weatherlight Duelist, and he'll draw for each enter, and look at that, he remembers the counters this time. Ethan will then sacrifice 3 treasures to Professional Facebreaker to exile 3 cards. They are Dihada, Orin Frostfang, and I have no idea what card that is, but he doesn't cast it, so it stays in exile. Then the turn is passed to Caden. Alright, let's see if they can deal with Ethan, because holy crap, that's a board. All it takes though is Caden and Sam to each cast 2 spells. Anyways, Caden will start off with Dalkovan Encampment. Then he'll cast a Voice of Victory. Then follow it up with a Cowboy Kumbal. Lotho will double trigger and it's not a May, so Ethan goes down to 1. Caden will then move to combat and he swings Professional Facebreaker over at Sam. Sam can't block, so upon connecting, Caden will make a treasure token. This will trigger Kumbal and the trigger will kill Ethan. Alright, let's move to Sam's turn now. On upkeep, John gets a 1/1 counter. He'll also play an Overgrown Farmland, and then he'll attempt to Final Showdown, destroying all creatures. This actually works rather well for John because he's got an Umbra on, so he'd actually survive this. Unfortunately though, Caden's got Fell the Profane, and he'll destroy John first. So the Spider Umbra falls off, and then the Final Showdown will resolve. Sam's got nothing after that, so he passes it back to Caden. Caden will start off with an Enduring Courage. Then he'll cast Bone Karen Butcher. On ETB, it gets +2/+0 in haste. Caden then moves to combat, and the Bone Karen Butcher goes over at Sam. Caden will make 2 1/1s that get +2/+0, so this would be lethal, but Sam's got the Fog. No combat damage is assigned, and Caden will pass the turn. Sam unfortunately doesn't have much. He'll enchant his Reliquary Tower with Wild Growth. Then John is recast, and Bone Karen Butcher is savagely swept. Sam will then enchant John with Hyena Umbra, and then the turn is passed to Caden. He'll play Elegant Parlor and Surveil to the top. Then he'll recast Zurgo, who gets +2/+0 and haste when he enters. Then Caden will activate Dalkovan Encampment, and then move to combat. Everything is swung over at Sam, and 3 1/1s which become 3/1s are created. And unfortunately for Sam, blocks do not matter here, so he is dead. That makes Caden and Zurgo the winners. Congrats! Alright everyone, welcome to the end of the video. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this goofy little game of Magic. Funny little statistic for you at the end of the game. Ethan did 17 damage to himself, or life loss. 4 of which was from Karazakar, but still, brother hurt himself. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to join the YouTube membership if you're interested at all. And as always, I hope you have a smooth day.